go through a selection process from being hired for political purposes. So recently we managed to change the law for specific situations. They are hired for support positions. You still cannot hire an engineer, for example, a private engineer to work in a public area, because for this you have public engineers who are hired through public contests. So you can only hire people for certain activities, basic activities, that are not in the mandates of the public careers.
I see. Okay. Great. And that, you just started talking about my next question, which was going to be, so now with the new law changed, what are some of the most important management tasks that need to be done in a UC that contractors still cannot do under this new law?
São aquelas tarefas que a gente chama de tarefas.
Those are the tasks we call exclusive career tasks. For example, inspection. Inspection is related to the power to bear arms and to fine and so on. So for those tasks, only public agents can do. Temporary contractors cannot. The management of federal contracts also are in the mandates of public servers, because they are hired to do so through public contracts. So you cannot transfer the management of contracts to a hired temporary worker. So those areas, the control, inspection, management of public decisions, can only be done by public servers, but other logistics tasks can be transferred, can be delegated. And sometimes they are delegated through a concession process, if you will. Imagine a concession for the visitation of parks. The companies hired to do that, they have their own managers to manage visitation. It's no problem if they do that within their contract. But what we cannot do is hire a manager to manage visitation if the institution has a server hired through public contest that is in charge of doing so, to taking care of that task. But when private companies are hired, they have the liberty of hiring and firing as they will, as long as they reach the objectives of the contract.
Okay, I see. Thank you. Okay, I'm just deciding here on my most important last questions here.
Gus, pode continuar. Depende de você e da Moema, porque para mim tá tudo
Gus, I have a lot of time. It depends on you and Moema. I am in no rush.
Okay.
Take your time.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. I think maybe I will still just limit myself to a couple of more. One, because I know more than 90 minutes can be a bit tiring for Moema, if I can speak for her. And also, I would like to just think a bit more about this conversation and come back to you with better questions. Maybe we can schedule another time to talk in the future, if that's okay. But yeah, so just a couple more questions. One, okay, switching topics a little bit, and going back maybe 15 minutes or so, when we were talking about the skills of servers and skills allocation. So you mentioned that the best the best universities tend to be in the south and southwest of Brazil. And therefore, people who come from the south and southwest tend to have better skills. On the other hand, but I'm wondering, how do you see those skills relative to the skills that one has when they come from the Amazon, for instance? Somebody who was born in the Amazon, grew up there, is familiar with how life works there. If you had to kind of balance the two, which do you think are most useful? Would you rather have a team full of people who went to great universities in the South, or a team of people who grew up in the Amazon, in other words?
Bom, eu vou dar uma resposta que é uma perspectiva
Well,
minha.
I'm going to give you an answer that's a personal perspective of mine. So everything that I'm telling you, I want you to consider in your work that those are not this is not an institutional perspective that I'm giving you. Everything that I'm saying is my own personal perspective, so that as we do not enter in a conflict with the position of the institute itself. So when I look at the staff, I think we should start holding contests that really encourage the participation of the people who live in the regions where the UCs are. I totally agree with you. I think the best university course is not necessarily the best qualification for someone to work in a certain area. And there are good universities in the north as well, in Manaus, in Belém, for example. So there are good universities, but the majority are in southwest Brazil. But you do have people very well skilled, well trained in the north who should be hired and would tend, since they are from there, they would tend to stay there in the region. What we realized when we analyzed the transferences a long time is that even people who are native from the north, when they go to small cities, they tend to wish to move back to the capitals or to the regional centers of the north because of the life quality. So there are two problems. One is the difficulty, one is the regional imbalance, and the other is the intra-regional imbalance related to life quality that these people from Brazilian cities have. Well, anyway, they are two distinct problems, but I do agree with you that we should have a policy. It's been discussed previously. It's been discussed a while ago. We used to think that we should hold regional contests, but the legislation did not allow for that, and still doesn't, because ICMBio is a federal organization. So the servers must be federal. We would have to change the legislation, change the laws for this to happen. So at the time when we discussed this, we couldn't do it, but it would be the most obvious, right? You would select the best professionals in the north, because there are good professionals in the north. And in this case, we would reduce evasion from the north to the south, but it would still not solve the problem of evasion between cities in the north, because the smaller cities, there is very little support to life quality. And a long time, those families of the best servers would like to improve. They would like to go to larger cities where their kids could go to better schools and so on.
Okay, great. That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I hadn't really been thinking about the intra-regional problem that you described. It seems very important. Okay. Then one other kind of aspect of the composition of teams that I'm interested in is... Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
Só para te explicar,
Sure.
a gente fala, às vezes as pessoas não entendem muito, porque não...
Sometimes people don't understand it very clearly because they don't understand Brazil very clearly. Let's say the Amazon. Manaus is a large city, a very good city with sufficient support, but there are other cities that are closer to the UCs that it takes 3 days to go from this small city to Manaus by boat. 3 days. Unless you have money to hire a plane, to freight a small plane. It's in the same state, but the distance and the discrepancy between being in the capital and in a small city 3 days away by boat, that is a heavy burden on the servers. They really feel it. They really feel the difference.
Sure. Yeah. that makes a lot of sense. I